Hi everyone. The lesson is Android Activities Part 8 Tasks and Backstack. We'll be using these tools and references. You have to make sure you look at Activities Part 7 uh, before you start this lecture. In this session you will learn about understanding tasks and backstack. What is a task? What's a backstack, managing tasks, things such as clearing the backstack and starting a task. As usual, it's going to be practical demonstrations. So if we look at the developer docs, so what is a task? So a task is a collection of activities that user interacts when performing a certain job. So a task is a collection of activities. What that means is, so if I look at one of our previous lessons, now this is one activity, right? So when I click send, I'm sending data to another activity. So the first activity and second activity, when you combine, it's a task. So the two of them is a task. So task is a collection of activities. The activities are arranged in a stack, that is the backstack. That means if this is my first activity and if I connect to the next activity, so the first activity is not in the screen now, but it has been put into a backstack. So when you are in the second activity, your first activity is somewhere it's called a backstack. That is the technical name to say where it is in the order in which each activity is open. So for example, if from the second screen, if I go to a third screen, then the second screen will go to the backstack in the order. When user selects a message, a new activity opens. We, let's see that. So for example, right, in example, if an email app might have one activity to show the list of new messages. So that is, in an email app, there can be one activity to show the list of new messages. When user selects one of the messages, then a new activity will open to view that message. This new activity is added to the backstack, right? If user press the back button, that new activity is finished and popped off the stack. So what it means is this. So if there's an email app, for example, right, and if then definitely if you want to display list of new messages, there's one activity. So when user selects a message from that, then a new activity should open to show the message, right? This new activity is added to the backstack. User press back button, this is popped off the stack. So to put everything together, in this case, let's say if this is a flow, if this is the first screen, then you click send, right? Now you are in the second screen, so this second screen is added to the backstack. Then if you click back button, right, what happens is that second activity will be taken away from the backstack, will be popped out of the backstack. You can read this video for more information, right? Okay, so for example, when the current activity starts another, the new activity is pushed on top of the stack and takes focus, right? So for example, if you got activity 1 in the foreground, if you start another activity called activity 2, then activity 2 is in the foreground and activity 1 is not visible, and activity tag activity 2 is in the backstack. Let's say activity 2 starts activity 3, then activity 3 also goes into the backstack. Let's say user click the back button and go to the previous activity. In that case, activity 3 will be popped out of the backstack and you will see activity 2 as the foreground activity. So the current activity visible is known as the foreground activity. So the backstack operates in last in first out. So the last in one will be the first out. So that's why you call it as a stack. If user continues to press back button, each activity in the stack is popped off, taken out. Now this is something very important. A task is a cohesive unit that can move into background when the users begin a new task or go to the home screen. Let's say user has clicked. For example, let's say now user is this the first screen? Let's say an user click send, then go to the second screen. So the second screen is a backstack. So if user start another task or go to the home screen, let's say user click this and goes to the home screen, right? In that case, that the task which was earlier visible will can be moved into the background, right? So that's how things are working. So the previous task now is in the background, but you can get it back once again. You can get it back, right? And if you go to the home screen, that will again go to the background. So a task is a cohesive unit, right? Etc. So while in the background, all the activities in the task are stopped. So the activities in the task will be stopped, but the backstack for the task remains intact. So the backstack will remain intact. So that's how it works. You can read more about that. So managing the tasks, right? So under managing the task, it talks various sub elements of that. Let's look into few things. You can define launching modes using the manifest file. You can read it on your own interest, and then you can handle affinities. You can read that on your own interest. Let's look at this. Let's, for example, clearing the backstack, right? So if the user leaves a task for a long time, right? Let's say you user leaves this task for a long time, right? Say he has gone from this task to another, from this to another, likewise. So then if you have a bigger backstack, and if the user leave a task for a longer time, let's say the user leaves the task, let's say now user click the home button and he goes and he looks at some other task other. So if he leave that earlier task for a long time, what the system does is system will clear the task of all activities except the root activity. So that's what known as clearing the backstack. So if user is not using that for a longer time, the system will clear all the activities in the backstack, but will keep the only the root activity. So when the user returns back to the task again, so after some time, if the user, let's say, return back to the task like this, after some time he will see the root activity, because all the other activities are cleared. That's what known as clearing the backstack. Why is it happening like this? That is because after an extended amount of time, users likely to abandon the way they were doing what they were doing and return to the beginning. So that's like a most of the time that's what happens, right? After some time, user would want to go. If user didn't use the app, then he would probably go to the main task, the main activity. So that's why this behavior is defined like that. Then when it comes to starting a task, right? So again, using the manifest, you can define intent filters, and then for example, if you want to start a task, you can give the action as main, category as launcher. So likewise, so this lesson help you to understand some reasonable understanding, right? So we did a practical discussion about a reasonable understanding about how the what are tasks and what is a backstack, right? So if you are a good Android developer, you need to know about this a little bit, right? We didn't do any practical for this, so you will not find a source code to download for this, right? And reference was Android developer docs. And have a look at our next lesson in this series. We are very excited to see you in our next lesson. See you in our next lesson.